Hey, what's going on, guys? Justin Williams back at you with another episode of Flintknapping 101, where we're sharing tips and tricks, and today we're going to be breaking down notching. This is where we're wrapping up how to actually make the finished point and be able to take it to the next level, guys, so stick with me. Alright, so far we've covered the techniques to deal with percussion and pressure flaking, and the last thing I want to talk about, the actual hands-on aspect, is understanding notching. And I know it's so important that as you are processing out your stones, you begin to shape it into different shapes, whether it be more of an angled, like that's got more of a triangle, one that's more of a spearhead. You're going to begin to shape it. And the funny thing is my daughter Trinity, at one point in time, she was out flintknapping with DC Waldorf, and she was just destroying it, just bashing it into tons of pieces. And DC began to talk to her and said that there's so much value in understanding different stones and making sure before you ever get into flintknapping that you have an idea of what you want to make, and understanding there's different perspectives and making it beautiful, and making something as simple as a basic arrowhead, and understanding what you want to make before you strike it. And my daughter, she stopped right in the middle of that story and said, "But I know what I want to make. I want to make gravel." And she just began bashing it. But just beautiful aspects in different times like that, being able to spend time with my daughter, flintknapping, and guys like DC Waldorf. And so it is important, though, as you are pressure flaking and as you are flintknapping, that you are keeping in mind the different shapes that you want to have in your arrowheads and spearheads, or anything that you're going to be batoning, or once again in this aspect, notching. And that's what we want to talk about today, is breaking down a notching techniques. So there are several different types of notches. Down below here is some of my favorites. These are some that I've made. Everything like these Hopewells, and being able to see the notchings on the sides. These both have notchings on the sides. This one here's got like a dovetail notching, and these are similar on the corners. The way that you approach the notching determine the side. So you got sides, you've got corners, and then you got the bottoms completely at the very base. Several different techniques and different ways that you can notch your points. So as we continue on notching, I want to talk to you about the tools that I like to use. Typically, a lot of times I'll just use my basic pressure flakers of different sizes, but if you really want to get into it, you can use a horse's nail, and that's once again, you can shape it and use it for notching. And some guys will even use basic copper flattening pipes, and so that works as well. And so there's several different techniques for pressure flaking and beginning to put in your notching. And so let's look at some notches. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of stone that is available for me right now to pressure flake and show you how to notch. But we're going to use some of these edges to begin to use some insight on how to notch. And so just like pressure flaking, you can notch the same way by coming on and pushing close against your chest and freehanding it by pushing in flakes to begin to pressure flake. Flakes like so. Another option is to notch on the side of your leg. And a lot of times guys just try to put in a single one layer, but it's actually a lot beneficial if you'll try to create two little paths right there in that section. Makes them a little bit wider, but you can definitely make sure you're getting deeper with your notching. Once you do one side, flip it over and do the other. All right, so we can notch from our chest, from our leg. You can also come in with the copper, and instead of an ishi stick, and begin to put this on here, and it's got a little notch in it, and remove larger flakes using this as well. Then the fourth, once again, the fourth method is you could actually stick it on a table to begin to remove your flakes as well for notching. Begin to notch it out and just keep taking it deeper by flipping it back and forth over and over. All right, the last method that I want to talk to you about with the notching, this comes from my buddy Gary Parton. He actually will take and will put a quarter and tap the quarter on the edge, and I'll just show a picture. I think that's all I got is a picture of him using the quarter on the actual stone to, as he strikes it, to begin to notch it. There's several other different techniques. Another method is through indirect percussion. That's something I'm not doing on this series, indirect percussion, because it's a lot more challenging and advanced. But as you continue to grow in your skill sets, that's when you can get into indirect percussion and indirect pressure flaking and different aspects like that too. Another key factor though is sometimes guys, when they're doing their notching, they'll actually literally, once again, put the billet on top of it, holding it into place like so, and then they would take a bopper and strike it, a baton and strike it to begin to remove for notching or percussion as well. Another thing when it comes to notching, especially the glass, I definitely highly recommend you use a small point. And once again, just hit the corners, and as you do one side, you flip it, do the other side. And all kinds of different techniques, especially when you're getting started flint knapping and you're getting started to pressure flaking. My first year, guys, I could not pressure flake worth a flip. So I had tons and tons of stones that didn't have notching in it. And so it's important that as you continue to grow in your skill set, understand that it's not going to be perfect at first. It's going to take time. And as you continue to process it and work it and learn new skills, the more you do, the better notcher you're going to be. It's just important that you take your time. And if you, for some reason, you snap it or it doesn't work out, it's not that big of a deal. You just start, once again, something as simple as popping out some pressure flakes and some notching on different things. So I could do notching in the corners, hitting the corners on the bottoms or the sides. And the key is you could actually do all three or two. Do one side, and then you do the other side, and then you can do the bottom, and you almost get like a cahokia. You can make them wide, or you can make them narrow. Really up to you. So we'd have a side notch and a base notch. Just get something simple going, guys. All right, so I know with all the different notching that I showed you guys that none of them were really beautiful or fancy or nice. I really, like I said, this is for basic tips and tricks 101, getting students breaking down and understanding how to just put in your notches. The notches are important for being able to actually attach to arrow shafts. So there's definitely a good reason to get into notching. But once again, I've definitely grown in a lot of different ways when it comes to notching. But for you guys starting off, don't get discouraged, don't get defeated because it may snap, it may break. It's just to get you started. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. The next couple videos, once again, are wrapping up some of these thought processes. One is going to be on finding, not necessarily finding, but how to process out spalls and heat treating rock. And then we're also going to be finishing up a series with some aboriginal flint knapping stuff. So it's going to be some good things. Really appreciate you guys watching and staying tuned, keeping up with everything. Hopefully you're getting some tips and tricks, because that's what this series is all about. It's not about teaching you to be perfect and be experts. It's teaching you basics and teaching you through tips and tricks. And so if you really want to continue to grow in your skill sets, definitely get to breaking some rock, guys. I appreciate your support. Thanks so much for your prayers, for me fighting my cancer. It's going to take it each day, and to God be the glory. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to share, subscribe, and stay tuned.